We have changed because our society has changed. So here's some observations. 20 million jobs globally are going to be impacted by AI by 2030. Another thing we're going to see is AI could replace equivalent to 300 million full-time jobs. And 40% of global employment is exposed to AI, and about 60% of jobs is advanced economic potential impacted by it. That's huge if you think about it on a global scale. So AI could also deliver an additional 13 trillion globally. So today we're going to talk about what Gen Z is changing, how it's changing the world. I'm an NLP practitioner. So I'm going to use my son, my oldest son, as an example. I'm a kickboxer, and so I was teaching him how to kickbox in the garage, and I threw a punch at him, and I hit him in the nose. My son wanted to do what? What do you think he wanted to do? You're darn right he wanted to cry. I literally told him as an NLP practitioner, I was like, Jordan, you just took a punch from me. I knew you had superhuman powers when you were born. I knew you were a mutant. And he looked at me, he's like, hit me again, right? That's NLP. I want you to understand, that's what we're going to talk about. The brain is what you're focusing on. AI is the outside thing. But we got to talk about what's happening on the inside with this outside thing. And if you can adjust the inside, it doesn't matter what's happening on the outside. Does that make sense? And that's how you're going to keep your employees. That's how you're going to change. This guy, Andrew Carnegie, tore down his buildings, his factories every 5 years. He knew this stuff before we even talked about it. What he did was, he didn't say, this is how you do it. He says, you as employees, what works? Go figure it out. And one of probably the smartest thing he did, he rewarded failure. Most of us are afraid to fail. And he says, I want you to fail, because as you fail, it just means we're getting closer to what works. And he had the best factory, even during the Depression. He didn't have a title. He owned the company, but he was on the floor, just like Steve Jobs, with the frontline employees. He never acted like he was a leader of a company. He acted like he was one of them. I want you guys to remember that, because it's exactly where we are now. People don't follow leaders anymore. They follow the biggest line in the room that's on the level with them. That's the most important thing to remember, because the brain wants to keep you safe, comfortable, and familiar with what you already know. BlackBerry, they misunderstood the nature of competition. They did not understand competition. They had meetings just like you do, talking about what's changing and what needs to happen, but they would not change. Then they overlooked the significance of third-party developers, having somebody from the outside to tell you what you don't want to hear. And then they had designed products for the wrong audience. You know, there's history after history where people took friends from the outside, and they came and made a winning product after their inside people couldn't figure it out. You guys, we are in a world of attention of how I feel. What all people feel becomes their point of view. So I ask you, what do you feel? But then secondly, what does your audience, your market, your industry feel? MIT has a class right now on how the brain works. Because if you can learn how the brain works, no matter what technology brings, you will be able to conquer. And Franklin Covey did a study, and this is why I bring it up so importantly. People skills account for 80% of your success. This is what people stay on jobs for, because of the leadership they have, right? But people are promoted because of their ability to do their job. 80% of people, if you're a leader here, many of you, 80% of you were probably promoted because of your skill and knowledge about the business, the software, the protocols, and you did it without question, and you got promoted. But your ability to manage people is lacking. Partnership age is where we're at. So another thing that companies need to think about is how to partner with your employees. If you hire a Gen Z or somebody who wants to do something like a side hustle, instead of saying you can't have that anymore, you got to figure out a way to embrace it. Embrace the side hustle. So here's some things that are changing. I'm going to just pause for a second. I want you to look at what the Gen Z culture is saying about the world we live in today. Just look at some of these statements that are up here. What is the one thing that stands out? Education. I'm glad you said that. This right here, this gives you free training now. You can get certifications and get jobs. These are all over the place. There's 1,000 of these out there where people can get educated in less than 4 hours for something that used to take 6 weeks. If you have a 2-year college degree, the things that you learn in 2 years can now be done online in less than 3 weeks. What is happening is speed to market is the #1 thing we need to think about. white labeling, agency, CRMs, video print, LMS, creating apps, drop shipping, all of that stuff is done like this. Now, if you are a business and you don't have a YouTube channel, you're behind the curve. When I was a musician, I had to get an artist, I had to get an agent, I had to get a hairdresser. You saw my hair. I had a hairdresser for that. I didn't do it. I had to get a studio. I had to have a photographer. We have a great photographer here today. We had to hire somebody to come do that. We had to hire all these people just to get a record deal. Then I had to go to a record agent label and say, hey, listen to my song. And they say, no, you're not good enough. Now, I really wasn't good enough, to be honest with you. But here's the thing. I had to do all that to get permission to be a musician. Now I can just do my own thing and post it every day and have millions of followers and then make money on it. So it's a partnership age. Because the YouTube channel allows you to make videos that can be done like this, and I can post them on a daily basis, and then if it gets posted enough and people see it enough, I start getting marketing share with advertisement. I get paid by the commercials that are shown on my video channel, on my videos. This is what's happening, and this is why it's hard for people wanting to go work a 9-to-5 job, because I can make money like this. And all I gotta do is take some pictures or just tell the AI to make it for me. That's how many viewers he has in one episode. Do you guys understand? Outside of the Trump interview, which was over 40 million now, 11 million people without Trump are watching him compared to CNN, Fox News, and regular TV. Do you think the world is changing? It is changing. So with all this said, what percentage of Gen Z are reporting they have started or want to start their own business? Does anybody know? 62%. So if you hired a Gen Z, most likely they have an own business on the side or they want to have a business on the side. Why am I so passionate about this? Because if you look at what's happening, we're going to increase by millennials and Gen Z by 55% in the workforce. If you want to actually be better as an individual company, you can't go back to the office and do the exact same thing. And you know darn well what I'm talking about. This booklet breaks down just about everything we just talked about in detail. Gives you a history of work. It also gives you about 17 different things that companies are doing. And I say Gen Z companies are doing that is leveraging the way the world is going.